Hi, welcome to a video that took me a very long time to make because I am bad at making videos. This is my top 25 albums of 2018. This list took a long time to make. I made like 80 versions of it because I'm bad at making decisions, but there is a few albums that didn't make the list that I want to talk about because they're so good. So I'm not going to go in any in-depth thing about them, and they're not in order. This is just a few albums that I enjoyed this year that didn't make the list. Peach Fuzz by Tabby, really great rap album. Vertigo by Eden, some nice indie pop. Oxnard by Anderson .Paak, really great rap album. Ion by Portal, a really good metal album. The Greatest Album of All Time by Dodge and Fusky, really great electronic dubstep album. Bobby Tarantino 2 by Logic. I liked that way more at the beginning of the year, but it kind of fell off for me a little bit, but I still enjoy it. Oil of Every Pearl's On Insides by Sophie, great electronic album. Starface meets Metalface, the collaborative album between Starface and MF Doom, really great rap album there. Car Seat Headrest's remake of his 2011 album Twin Fantasy, so Twin Fantasy Face to Face was really good. And lastly, Anna von Hasselhoff's album Dead Magic, which is a really cool neoclassical album. Oh, and if you want to count it, Endless, the CD quality version of Endless by Frank Ocean came out this year, which I really enjoyed. So I don't know, I was gonna put that on the list, but I was kind of deliberating whether or not it really counted as a release this year. So I decided to just play it safe and put it in the honorable mentions. Now that we have the honorable mentions out of the way, I'm gonna start going down the list. I'm gonna go a little fast through the first 10 because I want to get, I don't want the video to be infinitely long. So the first 10, from 25 to 16, I'm gonna try and speed through, and then I'll go a bit more in depth for the rest of them. All right, ready? Let's go. At number 25, we have Andrew WK with You're Not Alone. Yes, this is the guy from Destroy Build Destroy, but this is a really solid rock album with a lot of nice self-help vibes to it. It's just really positive, and I don't know, it's just a really fun album to listen to. At number 24, we have Polyphia or Polyphia, I don't know, with New Levels, New Devils. This is a really great math rock album. The guitar playing is on point, and the features are really good. So I don't know, just a nice little math rock album. At number 23, we have Vince Staples with FM. I love the concept of this album. I think it could have been done a little bit better. That's the only reason it's this far down on the list. But the album's full of solid bangers. It's great production, great lyricism, and that Earl Sweatshirt interlude is amazing. At number 22, we have Death Grips with Year of the Snitch. This album is a really new style for the band, moving even farther away from rap than they usually do, and listening to this album is kind of an unnerving experience. I don't know, it's kind of uncomfortable to listen to, and while it's definitely not my favorite album by them, it's still really solid in everything they do. I don't know, it might grow on me a little bit, I still love it. So yeah, number 22 is You're the Snitch. At number 21, we have the self-titled album by Superorganism. This is a really fun and unique album that I did not think I would like as much as I did. Really great indie pop vibes. The group works really well together considering the different backgrounds they all come from. And I don't know, I just love the way they do things, and I'm excited for some more fun pop music from them in the future. At number 20, we have probably the longest album title on this entire list, which is Silk Money with I Hate My Life and I Really Wish People Would Stop Telling Me Not To. This is a really weird, out of left field rap album. I had never really heard of Silk Money before this, but I'm really glad I listened to this and the title kind of caught my eye. There's some really great lyricism, some great production, and props to him for not putting Tyler on any of the track titles, despite the fact that he's on like 3 of the songs. Yeah, it's a great rap album. At number 19, we have Imperial Triumphant with Vile Luxury. This is the only metal album on this list, despite the fact that I listened to a decent amount of metal. I don't know, I wasn't too impressed this year, but this is definitely the best of the best. This album's really unique. It blends a lot of jazz and blues elements kind of together, and so it has that kind of lightness to it, but it can be very soul-crushing and dark when it needs to, which is all I really ask for out of a metal album. So it succeeded. At number 18, we have Hop Along with Bark Your Head Off Dog. This is a really cool experimental indie rock album. The vocals and stuff are a little odd sometimes, but in a good way. They kind of do all these weird runs and stuff, and I don't know, and the instrument, it feels a little loose is what I'm trying to say, but it still ends up working out. Some really great production on this album. I don't know, probably one of my favorite indie rock albums that I heard this year. At number 17, we have 2012 to 2017, which is an electronic album by Nicholas Jar under the name Against All Logic. This is probably one of the best electronic albums I've heard this year. The use of samples is really cool. I love how he uses older music as a sample and also newer things. And yeah, this is really well mixed and produced. This is probably the most well polished album that I heard this year. if I'm being honest. Which at times can lead to it being a tad on the boring side, but I still love it. It's great. And the last album of our speed round, we have Monstercat Uncaged Volume 4. This is the 4th Uncaged compilation by electronic music label Monstercat. This album is really good. This is from their like harder label Uncaged. So there's a lot more hard electronic music, a lot of, not that much dubstep honestly, but there's a lot of just harder sounds. Despite that though, they do incorporate a lot of lighter elements, which I think is what makes this more unique than a lot of the other compilations they've done recently. It's by far better than the other ones they released this year, which are kind of, and I don't know, I think this just proves that Monstercat is still the source for some of the best modern EDM on the market, and I'm excited to see what their next few compilations are going to be like, because if they follow the current trend, I don't know how much longer I'm going to like them. Okay, that was the first 10 on the list. Now we are on to number 15. I'm going to slow it down and talk a bit more about the albums from here on out, and I'm going to start that with Milo's new album, Budding Ornithologists Are Tired of Weary Analogies. That was hard to say. As always, this album is full of great production from Milo's collaborators, and the production is more relaxed, I think, than on like his last album, Who Told You to Think, which gives him a bit more room to breathe with his rapping and lyricism. Likewise, the often shorter track lengths for some songs kind of allow Milo to experiment with new ideas and sounds without them getting stale or annoying too fast, which I think is good because it allows this album to be a bit more experimental in nature. Despite having some blatantly overwritten lyrics, I still think that the lyricism on this album is very solid, and I'm very happy with it. This is less experimental than Who Told You to Think, but I still think it's one of Milo's most well put together projects, and I can't wait to see where he goes in the future. At number 14, we have Pusha T with Daytona. This is one of the 5 albums that Kanye produced this summer, and the production quality really shows with some of the best beats that Pusha T's rapped over since like Nostalgia or that other one.
I'm so bossy, bitch, get off me.
But not all the credit goes to Kanye, of course, because this album also has some of Pusha T's best lyricism that I've heard in a while. There's a good departure from a lot of the drug-based rapping that he usually does, where he's like, ooh, I sure do sell cocaine. There's a bit less of that and more like normal topics, such as, you know, life and fame and family and politics and all that, which I think is a good change for him. And you know, there's still drug references because otherwise it wouldn't be a Pusha T album. But it's good. It's a quality little album. I like it. And number 13, we have one of the most dynamic indie punk albums that I've heard this year, and I'm talking about Wide Awake by Parquet. This album is very fun and varied. There's a lot of fun, hard-hitting songs, and there's some more relaxed pieces, and I think they nail both of them fairly well. There's a good balance of kind of like this blood-pumping punk music and then more kind of relaxed indie rock, and I think the two complement each other so well that it doesn't really matter so much that there's that big of a like shift. There's some pretty strange song concepts on this album as well, like Total Football, and I don't know, there's some other ones that I can't think of off the top of my head, but it's just very unique in its lyricism, and although it did take a little bit of warming up to, this is a really great album. At number 12, we have Kero Bonito with Time and Place. I was a bit worried from their Toe Tap EP that this album was going to be a bit lackluster compared to their previous work, but I was completely wrong. This is a really great departure from their previous more bubblegum J-pop sound into more rock influenced music, and I think they nail it really well. Sarah's vocals provide a great counterbalance to the harsher instrumentals on this album compared to their previous work where it was just kind of these lighter instrumentals to go with her lighter vocals, and I think that works really well. This is probably their most well put together album with very little missteps. The only real complaint I have is that it's a bit uniform at times, so if maybe they change it up a bit, I think that might make it a bit higher on this list, but I don't know, it's still just an amazing album. At number 11, we have MGMT with Little Dark Age. This is a great synth pop album and a really great return for MGMT after their I think 5-year hiatus. This is an extremely solid album with close to no lows, and even when there are lows, they're still good. So I mean, it's just an overall quality album. There's a great mix of high energy songs like She Works Out Too Much and One Thing Left to Try, compared to more low energy songs like James and When You're Small. And also the band touches on a lot of topics as well, ranging from things like Donald Trump's presidency to dogs. My only real criticism is that some of the songs run a bit long and there isn't a huge amount of variation, although there is a lot of differences in the song, so I don't know. There's really not that much wrong with this album, but it's got to go somewhere, so it's at number 11. And now we're in the top 10, 10 best albums of the year. I'm excited. You're excited. Let's go. At number 10, we have the man, the myth, the legend, the meme, Playboi Carti with Dial It. This album was kind of the biggest surprise of the year for me because I did not think I would like this at all. Surprisingly though, this ended up being probably the best piece of trap I've heard all year, with some amazing production from Pierre Bourne mostly, and some other people, but mostly Pierre Bourne, and a really great performance from Carti, who doesn't really step up his game lyrically, but I don't know, something about the way he's performing on this album just sounds so much better than on his previous self-titled project. What's special about this album is that it kind of goes for more of a vibe rather than the classic rap metrics of like lyricism and like spitting bars. Like it just wants you to just come out and hang out and drink some like Fanta with it, and just look at fun in internet photos. But yeah, this album is really enjoyable. It's not super intrusive, so if you want music that's kind of like a bit more, it's not necessarily laid back, but it's just not like so in your face, this album's definitely for you. And yes, I know that this album is a meme. It's not album of the year, but it is number 10. I do actually like it that much. This isn't a meme. I like this album. Number 9. At number 9, we have Earl Sweatshirt with Some Rap Songs. This is Earl Sweatshirt's third studio album, not counting his Earl mixtape thing at the beginning, and it is probably the peak of his performance yet. Based on the title of this album, Some Rap Songs, I kind of thought it was just going to be a collection of songs, and I wasn't super excited for it, but I was completely proven wrong. This is a very solid concept for an album, and it works really well. And while I do think the album starts a little bit slow, like the first 2 tracks are a bit it really quickly picks up the pace, and by the end, the ending is one of the best endings to any album I've heard. The last like 3 or so songs on there are just amazing. Speaking of the ending, Earl's use of his parents' speeches in the third to last track, and then his uncle's little jazz piece for the last song worked really well. That was a really great idea. I was a bit worried when I saw their featured things on there. I was like, oh, what's this gonna be? But it worked really well, and it kind of added a more personal aspect to the album that I wasn't really expecting to hear. Overall, I'm just excited to see where Earl goes from here. This is a really amazing album, and I think if he continues this trend of quality, there's nowhere to go but up. At number 8, we have the most subdued album on this list, and I am talking about Room 25 by Noname. Noname is someone I was aware of, but had never really listened to besides like some of her features here and there, so I wasn't expecting too much going into this album, but wow, I was blown away. This is one of the best lyrical rap albums that I heard this year. It's amazing. And not only her lyricism, but her flow works really well, especially with this production, which is very solid throughout. It kind of has a bit of a jazzy vibe, but not entirely, and it has some cool samples from like older material, like on Blaxploitation. I don't know, it's a really fun album. And not only that, but the features on this album are very solid, especially Saba's verse on Ace. That is like the best verse I've heard this year. Overall, if you enjoy more laid-back rap music, this is definitely for you. And even if you don't like it on the first listen, I'd recommend listening to it a few times. It took me a few times to really get into it because of how laid-back it is, but it really sends an awesome message. It's just a really cool album. At number 7, we have Iridescence. Despite many people finding this album kind of disappointing, I really like it. It's here on this part of the list, although it was a little disappointing. Of course, this album is the first album by the California boy band Brockhampton after the departure of their member Amir after some sexual harassment allegations, and also him maybe setting up a robbery. Despite all that though, the group manages to put together another solid effort, and while I don't think it's as good as any of the Saturation albums, and it kind of lacks a bit of the grit of them, it makes up for that in some really cool experimental production, and just a more poppy sound, which I think they nailed fairly well. Like I said, they explore a lot more pop sounds on this album, but they mix it with a lot of really weird experimental stuff, which I think is a really cool combination because it allows for the 2 different sides of the band to kind of come together in a cool way. And yeah, like I said, despite this being the group's worst project in my opinion, I think the fact that it's still this high on this list is a testament to how quality they are, and hopefully there's nowhere they can go but up from here. Now we move on to probably the harshest, most experimental album on this list. It is the direct antithesis of Room 25. That's why I'm talking about Veteran by JPEGMAFIA. Like I said, this is basically the opposite of Room 25, not necessarily in ideas, but definitely in sound. There is literally nothing subdued about this album. Peggy just puts everything he feels about anything out on the floor. The production is loud and abrasive and just kind of screams at you, and it's just so aggressive. This was the first project by JPEGMAFIA I had heard, and I did not like it the first time I listened to it. But now Baby I'm Bleeding is the most played song on my iTunes, and I listen to this album very regularly, so I guess that opinion changed. This album is super aggressive, it's charged with leftist politics and a bunch of really liberal ideas, so I don't know if you don't like that, you might not like this album, but I do, and this is freaking crazy. Peggy's performance on this album is amazing. His rapping is just so like charged, and you can tell he really means what he's saying. His flows are amazing, his lyrics are amazing. He calls out a lot of things that other people are scared to, I think, so it's kind of this new kind of important voice in rap music that I can't wait to see more of. I think it was Tabby who said that it kind of sounds like the album is being built up from the ground, like as you're listening to it, which I find really cool and true. There's a lot of beats on here that just start off as almost nothing and just end up in these like it feels like you're like falling into like the void from SpongeBob in that one episode. So yeah, really cool experimental noise rap album, and I am so happy that he's getting bigger because I want to see him make more music, please. At number 5, we have Idols with Joy as an Act of Resistance. This is an amazing punk album, and I love it. This album is extremely high energy, it's full of really fun songs, full of aggression, and it's kind of a new wave of punk that I've been hoping to see in the recent years, and this is really just what I've been wanting for so long. This album presents a lot of really happy and positive ideas despite sounding so angry, so it's a bit confusing on the like how I should feel about this spectrum, but it does it very well. There's great bass lines, there's some great guitar playing, just really great production overall, and the kind of experimental things that they do with their like instruments create the experimental things that they do with their instruments create these really cool catchy sounds that you don't expect to like as much as you do, and then it just kind of gets stuck in your brain and you just it's great. This is a solid record overall. It ends a little low, I think, but everything else makes up for it so much that I don't know, this is a must listen, to be honest. Anything from here on out is you gotta listen to it, but this is just an amazing punk record and I love it. At number 4, we have an album by the dynamic duo, the supergroup of everyone's dreams. That's right, I'm talking about Kids See Ghosts. It's so beautiful. This is the first project by Kanye and Kid Cudi's supergroup Kids See Ghosts. It might be their last two, so that would suck. Unlike a lot of albums on this list, I was really anticipating this album. I was so hyped for it. It lived up to the hype tenfold. Well, I don't think it's a perfect album, like some people have said. It's definitely still an amazing album that I love. The album gets its point across very well despite its fairly short run times being only 7 tracks, although all of the Wyoming projects were only 7 tracks, so it's not that big of a deal. What makes this different from the other 4 albums that Kanye produced this summer, however, is how much this album talks about mental health. Pretty much throughout. Both Kanye and Kid Cudi have talked about this a little bit in the past, but it's glad to see them both talk about it as kind of the forefront of their work. And I think that's kind of what makes this album so special to me. Kanye also sounds a lot more grounded on this album compared to a lot of things where he's just kind of talking about issues that face everyone instead of just how cool he is, which, although people seem to like that, this is a really nice departure. The production from Kanye is of course top-notch. Kanye has some of his best rapping on this album that he's had in a while. Kid Cudi has some of his best singing or whatever he does on this album. I mean... And the duo works so well off of each other, it's hard to believe that they are just 2 separate artists. I feel like they're like meant to be in like a group, so I really hope that they make more music under this name. But yeah, that's Kids See Ghosts, 4th best album of the year. At number 3, we have Taboo by Denzel. This is by far Denzel's best work. Track for track for track, this album just continues to put out these bangers that are just undeniably amazing. And not only bangers, but this album has a lot of more relaxed songs which touch on a lot of topics that he has not previously talked about before, which I think adds this a more of a personal touch to this album. Things like sexual assault are discussed on this, politics. There's a lot of things that normally you don't hear a rapper like Denzel talking about, and I think that's what makes this more special than a lot of his other work. The production on here is of course great throughout. Denzel slides effortlessly over a lot of these beats despite how weird they are. The features are amazing. JPEGMAFIA is of course on here, Zillakami, Billie Eilish, all Jid, all those cool boys and girls. This is overall an amazing rap album, but it is not the best rap album of the year. That goes to this guy. Yes, that's right. My second favorite album of the year is of course Ye by Kanye West. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this because a lot of people found issue with Kanye's actions around the release of this album. They thought the album sounded a bit unfinished at times. There were some issues with ghostwriting that some people were mad about, but I don't know. A lot of that doesn't really affect the album experience for me, and I still found this to be an amazingly solid album. In fact, I think the more unfinished sound of the album actually made me like it more, similar to Veteran by JPEGMAFIA, in that it kind of feels like a more personal like dip into Kanye's mind and his work, rather than just like this perfect project that we're just supposed to be like, okay, this is the ideal thing. This has more imperfections, which I think makes it more personal. Songs like Yikes and All Mine provide some nice classic Kanye like bangers that you always need. And then there's also songs like Violate Crimes and Wouldn't Leave, which provide a more relaxed sound to the album and just a more personal look into Kanye's mental state and all the issues that he's been facing recently. And of course, the legendary Ghost Town is on this album. Everyone knows how good this song is. I put it in my best samples of 2018 video. Everyone's like, ooh, this is the best song ever. I know, it's a good song. I don't need to tell you that. In my opinion, this album is peak Kanye, and it's quickly become one of my favorite albums in his discography. One of these days I might rank his discography, I don't know, but this is definitely up there. Yeah, so this is a really great album, definitely the best rap album I've heard this year, and hopefully Yandi or good, any like the 8,000 projects he's announced, hopefully those live up to this. And lastly, we're on to the #1 spot. The best album of the year, in my opinion, is, drumroll please, You Won't Get You Won't Get What You Want by Daughters. Who's the best album of the year? You are. You are. I love it so much. Yes, this is the best album I've heard all year, and I did not expect to like it this much, but Jesus Christ, this is just the first time I heard this album, it was like a religious experience. I think I was working on some other video, writing the script for something, and I was like, oh, I'll just put this on in the background. But after like the first song played, I realized I couldn't do that, so I just kind of sat there listening, which I don't do for a lot of music. This just like captured me fully. This album is definitely not for everyone, with its kind of dark themes and production, and definitely more experimental like noise rock sound. But whew, this is just freaking, I don't even know how to talk about this album. This album's amazing. Of course, there's the very unique vocal performance from the band's frontman, Alexis SF Marshall. Throughout the album, the band kind of brings up these dark ideas and concepts that kind of just make me want to like freaking like, I don't know, like jump out a window and like off of a skyscraper and like flee my life and just like live in the woods. This album is fine-tuned to hell. It's dark and unnerving. It's lyrically amazing. The production's great. It's just so solid, and I don't know how to talk about it, but I don't know. This is the album of the year. It's the best thing I've heard all year, and this is, you know, it's just facts. It's how it is. And if you don't like it, I don't care. That's gonna be it for this video. Those are my favorite albums of the year. If you disagree, tell me in the comments, although, because this is my opinion, so you're probably gonna disagree with at least something. Yeah, and thanks for such a great year. This has been an amazing year for this YouTube channel. I can't wait to see it grow even more, hopefully. I love all you guys. So yeah. Aww. Oh wait, don't you guys like merchandise, right? Because I have merchandise to give you. Follow my Instagram once I hit 250 followers, I'm giving away a Brockhampton iridescence cassette tape, not a vinyl, a cassette tape, and then also a poster, the cool lenticular poster for Astroworld by Travis Scott. Please follow me.